Hello, I am the woman who made a vlog that was almost 2 hours long this month. And welcome to my February wrap up. It's very pink themed for a reason, which is romance. I think I only read 3 books that did not have a romantic aspect at all, really. And those were horror novellas, and that was a whole entire trilogy that I read in one day. So, like, stay tuned if you want to hear me talk about romances for like an hour. Hopefully not actually an hour. I do have some stat stuff. I'm going to be reading it off of my computer. I know. I turned down my screen brightness so I don't look whitewashed, unlike my TBR. But yeah, February I read a total of 13 books with 2,667 pages. So less than 100 less than January, but about half as many hours as 44 hours. My average rating, 2.94. I read a lot of books that were 3 stars. I DNF'd 4 books that are not part of those books read. Yeah, I reread one. It's a good time. Did I just realize I forgot to get all the physical books and bring them downstairs? Yes. Beside the point. So there was some like contemporary romances, erotic romances, fantasy romances, 10 just straight up romances. But one was more fantasy as like coded, and stuff like that. 2 were more contemporary coded. And then there were the 3 horror for the different genres. I read 4 audiobooks, 10 ebooks, 2 physical books, and 1 mixed media. Finally, first time this year, which was physical and audio. And most of the books I read were adult. 13 of them were adult. 1 was middle grade, 1 was new adult, and 2 were YA. So my different ratings, I rated 1 book 4.5 stars, which was the reread. And then after that, I read 1 book that was 3.5 stars. 6 were 3 stars. 1 was 2.75. 3 were 2.5. 1 was 2 star. And 4 were doing DNFs. And yeah. Okay, we have like a few books to go before I have to go get the physical books. So I'll just start off with the first 4. And I instantly started the month with reading for the 3-book vlog. I started that one really early and finished it really early, which is the one where I read 3 books I got off of Amazon. The first one being Ruby's Passion. Read that all on the first day of the month. And I rated it 2.5 stars. It was a wild ride. It's a historical romance, technically, I guess. The plot of it is interesting. Basically, it's like the wedding night of these 2 people, and then when there's like this whole like secret thing that when she finds out, it like ruins their relationship, and it's them trying to find their way back to each other, and whatnot. The secret thing is that she catches him wanking one out to a photo of her stepmom. Honestly, I go for like 20 minutes probably about this book in the actual vlog, so I recommend you watch it because like it's a wild ride. I was reading on Spritz and I was hysterical. And I think the only reason I finished it is because it was so just weird and odd at points that like, yeah, I'm like, I couldn't give it 3 stars because like it's not good in a lot of ways. Like the romance, not good, and all that fun stuff. But like, I had a fun time, so I couldn't rate it 2 stars, right? The second book for that vlog was Titan Sunrise by Peggy L. Henderson. I DNF'd it at 53 pages. There's like a lot of stuff about kidnapping and stuff, and then the love interest presumably killed her parents. I have theories about that. I will never learn if I was right or not because I will never finish this book. But he kind of lives in the wilderness and stuff, and is like a pelt hunter or something like that. And it's presumed that he killed her parents, and she's on her way to like seek revenge with her brother. when her brother is betrayed and they kill her brother and then kidnap her to sell her on the black market, and then the guy who's her love interest, who is the guy who presumably killed her parents, buys her to quote unquote save her. All that was weird enough. Like, it was not well written and all this stuff, and I couldn't see how, like, even I like have theories, of course, and like I presume he's not actually the killer of her parents, but like even with that, a good chunk of this book will be spent with her believing this man's killed her parents. And yeah, I don't see how romance can come from that, right? Um, except yeah, I don't know what to say. It was not well. And then the racism started. Listen, I love it when every Native American has to be called savages. Um, so I DNF'd it. And then I read the NetGalley book I had to read for the month, which is Curled Up with an Earl by Amy Rose Bennett. I did it via audiobook, which was about 11 hours, and I rated it 3.5 stars. That's the highest rated one. That was not a reread. Which is hilarious because I DNF'd the first book in the series in January. Like, I did not like it. Hear me out. The steamy scene's not good. I wrote an actual review and stuff, so like, check it out. But the moral of the story is like the steamy scenes were not good. The romance itself was okay, but the mystery aspect, I guessed it a mile away, but I still was having a fun time. And so yeah, that's that. And then there was the last book for the 3-book vlog, which is The Librarian and the Orc by Finley Fenn, which is a book about a woman who works as a librarian at a library, but she, like, the librarian is supposed to be like a scholar and all this stuff, so like a rich white guy. She's being abused by this guy who made it so she got the position and basically controlling her by like being like, you will leave your position, I will force you to leave this position, I will destroy your reputation, make it so you can't get work elsewhere if you deny me, type thing. It originally started out consensual from the bit that I read, because I DNF'd it. I DNF'd it at 117 pages. I got kind of far. But then there's an orc in the library. There's like stuff where there's been treaties with orcs recently, and so he's trying to get her to find out ways to start a war, but a civilian war. So you gotta find things that make it so the orcs look bad in the people's eyes, so they will go kill the orcs without like spending a lot of money and whatnot. And so there's this orc in the library, and she's like, hey, you kind of have to get out. There's like this whole thing where like you're not allowed to break the law if you're an orc, or else you get taken away. And he quite literally broke into the library. Like, there's this whole thing, which means breaking and entering, which is against the law. And yet she never, like, this whole thing could have been solved if she had just been like, hey, I will call the guard to take you away because you broke the law. He even admitted that he did it. He was like, oh, that's a law? And she's like, yes, that's breaking and entering, my dude. But she never does. He's just like, you won't do it. And then she doesn't. So then he's just there. And then she tries to basically get him to leave by using her body. And that doesn't work. So she tries to use her body to get him to give her information so that she can use it to give to the guy who gave her the position. And then there was like this whole thing where he slept with her, but like she gets nothing out of it just because she wants to sleep with him. And then they do it, and then it's like apparently orcs are super fertile because like you're pregnant now, and so he has to take her back to his village so that like they can make it so the pregnancy isn't a thing. Also, humans can survive off of basically orc semen. Orc semen, if you give an orc a blowjob, you can eat it and you'll, like, it's really nutritious apparently. And also, the word viscous was used in every steamy scene, and the steamy scenes weren't even that good without that. It was so mediocre. It wasn't even, I was just bored, which is like the complete opposite of what I wanted. I either want it to be like so bad it's good, or just a great time, and it was just meh. So I DNF'd it. And yeah, that's that vlog. So excuse me as I go get the physical books real quick. The next one is one that I stopped by Keith Lucas, if you couldn't tell from me holding on the fuck. For the pink monochromatic reading vlog. I DNF'd it at 86 pages. Yeah, I wasn't having a good time, so then I decided to look up some stuff. There was this one really great review that I found that talked in detail about a bunch of stuff. The writing style was not it, fam. I did not like it. The main character was insufferable. She complained about everything constantly. And I was just like, I don't want to be here. Okay. And then I read what actually happens in the steamy scenes, and I was like, I'm good. I don't need to read that. Where, like, that was the only reason I was pushing for, which is basically, they have sex on the train in front of multiple people. Like, other people are there watching it happen. Yeah, and then there's, so basically, there's, I don't remember characters' names, but there's the main character, I hate her. I mean, I shouldn't say, I don't hate her. I get where she comes from, but she was insufferable to read from, okay? And then there's Jane, who is Chinese American, from the 70s, I believe, and she is stuck on the train. She basically a bunch of weird time travel stuff, which also I learned is completely pointless. It's just used as the thing to keep them apart, throughout the book. So they could have just used anything else. But she like very quickly gets a crush on her and all this stuff. But I read in the review that there's also a thing where like there's like an old man who calls her a bunch of racist and homophobic slurs. And so she gets in a fight with him, and then main character here is like, oh, that doesn't really happen anymore. You're fine. And you know, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like it. It wasn't a good time. After reading that review, I was very happy I DNF'd it. Like, was very much not my thing. And 100% going on the unhaul pile after this. After that was another book for the Pink Reading Vlog, which was Neanderthal Seeks Human by Penny Reid. I rated it 3 stars. It's a book about a woman who, in the very beginning, she finds out her boyfriend's cheating on her. And not even, like, she's upset and angry, but not the fact that he cheated on her, really. It's the fact that he's so dumb that he left the condom wrapper in his jeans, that he knew she was going to clean that. Like, he knew she was going to do laundry that day. And that's what pisses her off for. Which, like, it's the way that mental health is viewed in this book is, but, like, the way she constantly questions if she's, like, really a sane person because she was more upset about that than, like, the actual cheating. And I'm like, no, I'd be upset about that too. This bitch could even be smart about it. Dear God. But yeah, basically that happens. And of course, they live together in his apartment. He's got a rich daddy who pays for everything. So basically she has to move out, and then she gets fired from her job. There's a bunch of suspicious stuff about that. I was 100% right. I love that for me. And then there's the security guard who like walks her out, and is this guy that she's kind of had a thing for a bit. She finds him kind of hot, and she has this thing where she just blurts out facts a lot, and people her whole life have been telling her to shut up, including her sisters and whatnot. But he's all like, actually wants her to tell the actual facts and whatnot. Like a few times she'll stop herself, and he'll be like, no, actually tell me. I want to know what this is. I want to hear what you find interesting in all this stuff, and it's very cute. But there are many red flags I felt about him. And then there was like the whole thing where he was actually like, he got her a new job that she had like the better requirements. I don't know. She was better at this job than the old one. All this stuff. All this stuff is going on. They instantly hire her, and all this. And then it takes her like 3/4 of the book to realize that he's actually her boss. He like owns the company. And the way I figured that out so fast. I figured that out so fast. Ask H. We were on call the whole time, and I was just screaming. But yeah, they start a romance, and then she eventually finds out that he's the boss. And then she's like, oh, I don't know if this is like a good thing to do, to sleep with my boss. No, it's a weird thing to do. But eventually he talks her into being in a relationship with her. But not before there's a bunch of mobsters that show up at her house when there's a knitting club meeting, and a mobster does get stabbed with a knitting needle. It's kind of great. It's a crazy ride, but I kind of expected that from the last Penny Reid I read. where the ending is just pure chaos. And you know what? I'm not mad about it. So I rated it 3 stars. And then we go into the 3 horrors, which is the Molly Southbourne series by Tay Thompson. The first one's The Murders of Molly Southbourne. This was the Betty Reed I did with H. It was okay. Like, the idea, the premise was really good. But the execution was a little iffy at some places. But I really liked the writing style one. I rated it 3 stars. And then the survival, the second one, of Molly Southbourne, I rated 2 stars. The whole book is pointless. And then I read the last one, The Legacy of Molly Southbourne, which I rated 2.5 stars. I enjoyed it more than the second one. It goes back more to the roots of the first one, but then it also retcons, like, all the lore from the first one. Now, I could go into more detail about each one, but, and hear me out. I already did that in an hour and a half long podcast episode that doesn't come out for a bit, but this is me, this is the ad, the day this video goes out is the day after the first podcast comes out that I made with H, a Fish and Flower podcast. It's linked below in the Linktree stuff. Don't worry about it, but just, like, know about that. The first episode is 2 hours long, where we talk about Heartstopper. But the second episode, the one that comes out next Friday, is the Molly Southbourne one, where we go very much in detail about Molly Southbourne. And by we, I mean me. And then the third one is Wilder Girls. Also, my Ice Planet Barbarians may be the fourth one. But yeah, that's the thing that's happening. That's my quick announcement for that. But yeah, I read those 3 accidentally in one day. And then, hear me out. Sometimes you just gotta read a lot of lesbian romance. So on Script, I saw Tell Me How You Really Feel by Amina May Safi. I probably pronounced her name wrong, and I'm sorry. But the audiobook was kind of short. It was a book that had been on my TBR for a while, and my library had gotten rid of their copy, so I was like, you know what? Might as well freaking read it finally. Rated it 3 stars. This is one of the ones, I think this is the one that I labeled, or one of the 2 that I labeled as contemporary first, romance second, because, like, there's a romance plot line between the 2 main characters, but most of it is just them trying to live their lives. They're both seniors. One of them got early admission into Princeton, I believe, and wants to become a doctor, but she's also looking into becoming or going abroad for this doctor program to see if being a doctor is actually what she wants. But then, like, the way her family and their culture is, it really affects her. And then there's the other one who is a movie director, and her teacher is, like, forcing her to finish her project as soon as possible, and she's, like, very controlling. Her mother left her. They both have single parents, right? And so she's just trying to make this movie, and then this incident where can you tell I don't remember people's names ever? The Princeton one runs into the movie one and drops camera equipment that gets a crack on the outside, but, like, and then the way the teacher just yells at her and all this stuff, like, she's been a product student, like, a perfect student until this point. Yeah, but basically she's a college scholarship student, and there was this thing where Princeton, who is also a cheerleader, asked her out a few years ago, but she thought it was a joke. But no, it's not a joke. They're both lesbians. And then in order to, like, make it up to her, Princeton plays Helen of Troy in the movie and helps her out with it. And they start getting really close, and it's really adorable. But then some other crazy stuff happens. It's a good time, though. I really liked it. Right? Then I read the book for the weekend reading vlog, which was Of the Blood by Camille Renee, which it's really long, and the one that I rated 2.75. I don't even know. There's vampires, forced becoming vampires, weird secret magical powers, a guy named Fang who's totally not from Asia, because it's Asiatica, spelled Asia, T-I-C-A. Love that still. Oh my god. Yeah, and then there's, you know, just a little sprinkling of incest. You know, I love how it wasn't the content warnings on Storygraph. I may have gone ham on adding every content warning possible that I could think of on Storygraph, because No one warned me there was a sprinkling of incest, okay? One of the love interests. I was even rooting, I was like low-key rooting for the other guy because like Tristan, the main love interest, I'm not sure how I feel about him, right? I have some feelings about him, right? So then there's like Roel, that's how I pronounce his name. It's like spelled Rhoel or something like that. But I started calling him Roel as in roll my eyes. Because I'm hilarious. Right around the point where the plot twist happens, where he's actually her great uncle. The way they low-key spoil it in synopsis too. So like, don't worry. In the summary, no, the synopsis on Goodreads and Storygraph, like low-key is spoiled. All that stuff. So yeah, basically, there was like a little bit of a romance going on there, and I like could see where it could be going. And then it was like, actually, he's your great uncle, and he still wants to marry her and have children with her because they would be super powerful children. Yeah, 2.75 stars. I will not be continuing the series. The writing style, I could not do it. It was not a good time, right? And then after that, I read The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot for the Pink Monochromatic, which was like really quick. It was only 6 hours. Total, I rated 2.5 stars. It was fine. It was very 2000s. Like, it came out in 2000, so not a surprise. It was very 2000s. I really want more about her personal feelings with how all this is going down. Like, she learns that she's a princess and all this stuff, and how her life is turned upside down, and everyone just thinks that she's like a teenager acting like a teenager, like a 14-year-old acting like a 14-year-old, which, like, I get it, but also, like, you're telling her she has to move away from everything she knows, all this stuff, blah blah blah, and like not even explaining anything to her properly, not giving her any time to breathe, and all the, yeah. And her grandmother is really a piece of work in the books. Hear me out. I like some of it. I did not like other parts. Okay. And then I read another lesbian romance on Storygraph, because Storygraph was like, hey, or not, Scribd me, please. Anyway, Scribd was like, hey, you read this one lesbian romance? Here's a bunch of other lesbian romances. And I was like, cool. So then I looked up every single one it recommended to me. And then there was like a few that I really, really liked the synopsis of. And I had H choose one from random, and that was Out on Good Behavior by Dahlia Adler, which I think is the third book in a series, but like, I don't want to read the other two. I do not care. This is the lesbian one. It was like 7 hours, and I rated it 3 stars as well. I think I rated every lesbian romance I read this month as 3 stars. But basically, there's two characters whose names I don't remember. There's the girl from the South whose father is a Republican, and she's secretly gay, right? And then there's the bi or pan woman who sleeps with people all the time. She sleeps around. It is just viewed as her being, it's very sex positive type thing. She sleeps with whoever she wants to, when she wants to, has a good time. And then, but she's always kind of had a little bit of a crush on Southern girl, right? Who's a roommate of one of her friends, who is a character in one of the previous books. It occasionally would hint at things from the other books, and I was like, but eventually you learn that Southern there is actually gay, and if she were to date a woman, she wouldn't be able to hide it forever, so she'd have to come out to her family, which would destroy her whole entire life, right? Because they would disown her, all this stuff. So, like, she's hesitant for understandable reasons, especially with a character who is very much not monogamous. So they decide to be monogamous for 1 month to test it out and see how it goes. And they have a good time. Honestly, they are great together. They're really cute, all this stuff. And then accidentally, non-monogamous ends up accidentally taking, I think it's Xanax with some alcohol on like the date after, like the first date after the month is over, when all the stuff is going down. So it was like, what are we gonna do type thing. And she's stressed, so she takes her friend's Xanax, and then she drinks some alcohol, and then she passes out, because that's what you do. So she's late, and by late I mean the next day she shows up, and so then they do it, because, you know, why not. But then Southern is like, no, I think we should see other people and all this stuff. Meanwhile, non-monogamous is now like fully in love with her, and then they eventually like recognize that they both are really into each other. They're both trying to do what the other one wants, not realizing that both of them just want to be together. And eventually they do just end up being together, and it ends with them going to Southern's, I think it's in South Carolina, family house, for the holidays, and, yeah, I think summer break actually, maybe. So we can assume how that went, but yeah, that one was a fun time. And then I read Dating Dr. Dill, which is the one I read, both physical and audiobook. It was a time. Read this one for the pink one, rated it 3 stars. The more I've read of reviews of this, especially low rated reviews, the more I agree that Cream is kind of the worst character to be with Kareem. Because Kareem, is that even her name? Karina. I was kind of close. Karina. God, I love her. Okay, she's great. Spectacular. The fact that every man in here actually sucks ass, as well as every family character sucks ass. Most characters that are not Karina suck ass. And then he comes in, and they kind of have this thing. The steamy scenes were pretty good. I liked them. And eventually, like, it started to grow on me. But like the way that he helped her stand up to like her family and stuff. Like, yeah, I like it. But like, and how he took care of her. Like, yeah. But like, it was very predictable. It was very predictable, and also, I just really did not like it. I really did not like his character. He was very much, typical playboy douche character, and she's looking for love, and somehow they become a love match. I don't really like it. It was fine. It's fine. That's what the 3-star means for this one. It was fine. Will I continue the series? I really don't know. It depends on what people say about the main male character in that one when it comes out, because like, yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, but she was great. I loved her. After that, I read another lesbian romance instead of doing Lock Every Door like originally planned for the pink. H may have talked me into reading a lesbian romance instead. So this is the last one for that vlog. Rated 3 stars, the second book in the series. Lesbian doms who are higher ups at this firm called, I think it's a marketing firm or a magazine firm or something like that, called Mistresses. And each one follows them finding the sub who ends up being the life partner after the fact. And the life partner in this one is the much younger intern who just broke up with her girlfriend of like since high school, like her high school sweetheart who cheated on her. Yeah, it was a wild time. It was a lot of them dealing with their own personal issues, and then finding comfort in each other. Like, I can't remember her name. It's like Lilith or Lillian or something like that. She is, I think, in her mid-40s, and I think around 5 years ago, she was married, and her wife, Emily, died. And so she's dealing with the grief of that, right? And trying to, like, reconcile with finding love again and feeling love for another person again after this, knowing that Emily will forever be in her heart. And also, like, trying to feel like she's not betraying Emily by falling in love again, despite the fact that on her deathbed, Emily said, hey, I want you to be happy. Go be happy. Don't just, like, wallow in your sadness, right? And then the intern is dealing with the betrayal, because not only did her girlfriend of, I don't know, like 10 years cheat on her, but also like all her friends knew that she was cheating probably. I just didn't tell her. And so yeah, her whole life is turned upside down. So like she's dealing with that betrayal, she's dealing with grief, and you know, it's beautiful. 3 stars. It was a quick read and all that stuff. And then we go into the last physical book, which is the reread of Rogue of One's Own. Listen, I get this is slow. I think it was like page 250 out of this 410 page book or something like that, where they first kissed. But after they first kiss, it starts getting real spicy real fast. It's a good time. It's pure chaos. I may have had a good time highlighting I'm actually trying to find a page that has highlights on it. You know, I like highlighted some parts, some lines that like hit me in the heart. I got to test out my new highlighter, so that was fun. The pastel pink is too pastel for me. I can't freaking see it. But yeah, I really like this book. This is a reread. I should probably continue the series. I own the third one. It's on my shelves. Will I read it? We'll see. But yeah, I like this. It was a good time. I upped it to 4.5 stars. Originally it was 4 stars. And I get why some people don't like it, but I don't know why, but I just love this book. It was a great time. I'm still trying to figure out if I should label this as my favorite of the month, despite it being a reread, because I did up the rating. Or if that NetGalley book is going to be the favorite, because that's the only other one that's over 3 stars. I'm sick. But the only other thing I read was I started the NetGalley book I have for March, right? I started that so I could like have that done, right? I read 29 pages before I DNF'd it. The writing was bad. The premise was kind of really bad. Basically, it's these two people who need to get married out of convenience. She needs a husband so that she can legally keep her sister's children. Her sister and her husband died. So like she wants to keep their 3 children, but there's like some cousin who out of the blue after X amount of years can't have children, so she wants the son, but only the son will like leave behind the 2 daughters, and like she doesn't want the kids to be separated and all this stuff, but legally she doesn't have really any tie to these kids unless if she gets married, and he needs to get married by the end of the week in order to get a bunch of inheritance, and like he could be fine without the money. The issue is that if he doesn't do this, the money then goes to a poet society, and he hates poetry, and she really loves poetry, and I assume that's the thing later on. I don't know, I didn't after like 29 pages in because it was bad. It was bad. It was like on that section on the NetGalley that's like, these are books you can auto be approved for. Yeah, that section. Because I just need something for March. It was the only March one. I had to. I have a bunch of April ones though that I'm gonna read. But yeah, I read that, or I didn't read it. I DNF'd that, and then I also read like 11 pages of the first Crescent City book. But then decided I'm not gonna reread that yet, and then I did read the first 13% of the first Ice Planet Barbarians book, but I haven't finished it yet. I'm gonna finish that right now because sprints are starting in 5 minutes. So I'm gonna end this off. Look at this. It was not super long. It's not an hour long. Oh my god, look at me go. Thank you for coming to this wrap up. It's a wild ride. Wednesdays are read with me's. Saturdays are typically vlogs. Fridays, the podcast. Currently it's only on Spotify. I don't know how to add it to other. I'll try to figure it out how to add it to Apple Podcasts and other things. But yeah, I think that's about it. Link below is all the stuff. All my links in a link tree that also has the podcast, so like check that out. And then on Mondays or Tuesdays I do sprints, as well as either Wednesday or Thursday, whichever one my mom works on those 2 groups, right? I do sprints. So yeah, stay tuned for all that stuff. Thank you for coming to this wild ride. Yeah, we don't need to talk about my average rating. We're just gonna move on. And I will see you in the next video. Other than the read with me, the next video will probably be the 3 book vlog of this month, right? So stay tuned for that. Until then.